The snowstorm had swallowed the town whole that night. No cars. No laughter. Just the sound of wind howling through empty streets, like ghosts whispering secrets of forgotten souls. Inside a flickering roadside diner, one man stood alone. His hands were raw from years of scrubbing plates, his heart heavier than the snow piling up outside. James Whittaker had dreamed of bigger things once, a chef's life in the city, a restaurant filled with music and light. But life, as it often does, had different plans. His mother's death. His sister's addiction. A baby niece left in his care. And so, he stayed, in this small, silent town, cooking meals for strangers, serving hope in bowls of soup. Then, as the clock struck midnight, the bell above the diner door jingled faintly. Two shadows appeared behind the frosted glass, a boy and a little girl, shivering, drenched, and starving. Their eyes met his, and for a moment time froze. He didn't know their names. He didn't know where they came from, but he knew that look, the one that says we have nowhere left to go. James opened the door. "Come in," he whispered. "You're safe here." That one simple act, opening that door, would ripple through time like an echo of light in the darkest storm. 22 years later, a black Rolls-Royce would pull up in front of that same diner, now transformed into a beacon of warmth and hope, and when the doors opened, James would finally learn the truth, that kindness never disappears, it only waits to return home. The storm that night was merciless, white, endless, and alive. Snow coated the streets, swallowing every trace of movement. The diner's neon sign flickered, casting a pale red glow onto the snowdrifts like a heartbeat refusing to die. Inside, James moved with tired grace, wiping down the same counter he'd wiped 1,000 times before. He was 42, worn but kind-eyed. The kind of man who remembered people's names, their favorite meals, and even their stories, especially the ones they didn't tell out loud. The diner was his world now, a modest refuge called Gracie's Place, named after the sister he'd lost to addiction. He kept her memory alive in every meal he cooked, in every act of quiet kindness. That night, the roads were closed. The world outside was buried. James didn't expect a single customer. But as he turned off the coffee pot, he saw it, two figures pressed against the glass door. A boy, maybe 11, holding the hand of a girl half his age. Both shaking. Both barefoot in the snow. For a moment, James just stared. His reflection overlapped theirs in the glass, a ghost of the man he'd been, facing the ghosts of the children he once was. Then he dropped the rag, rushed to the door, and pulled it open. A blast of wind and snow hit his face. "Come on," he said gently. "Get in here before you freeze." The children hesitated, fear etched deep in their eyes, then stepped inside. The girl clung to her brother's arm, her lips blue from cold. James led them to a booth near the heater and poured 2 mugs of cocoa before they could speak. Then he ladled soup into bowls, thick, steaming, fragrant. "Eat," he said quietly. "You're safe here." The boy nodded, cautious but grateful. He broke a piece of bread, gave half to his sister, and whispered something soft that made her smile faintly. For the next hour, silence wrapped around them like a blanket. James didn't ask questions. He knew too well how heavy stories can be. When they finished, he packed 2 sandwiches, slipped a $20 bill between them, and handed over the bag. "For later," he said. "Thank you, sir," the boy whispered. "We'll never forget." Then they were gone, vanishing into the night like mist. James stood by the door for hours, staring into the storm. But they never came back. Time moved quietly in that little town. The diner stayed open through every season, snow, rain, and loss. Locals began to notice something special about the place. When someone couldn't afford a meal, James fed them anyway. When a single mother lost her job, he slipped groceries onto her porch. When the old furnace at the shelter broke, he opened his diner to the homeless, serving pancakes until sunrise. People started calling it Whittaker's Haven. James never corrected them. He wasn't rich, but he was whole. Every dish carried a memory, every act of kindness a promise. Then came the hardest part. His niece, Lily, whom he had raised from a baby, drifted away. Depression, confusion, and years of silence followed. He kept writing her letters, every Christmas, every birthday, but the answers never came. Still, he cooked. Still, he hoped. Hope was all he knew. The first snow of December fell softly that morning. James was prepping breakfast for the volunteers at his newly renovated diner, now a small hotel and community center called Whitaker's Haven. He was stirring a pot of soup when he heard it, the low hum of an expensive engine outside. Through the frosted window, he saw it, a black Rolls-Royce, gleaming under the morning sun. For a second, he thought he was dreaming. Then the car door opened, and a tall young man stepped out, dressed in a charcoal coat. His stride was confident, but his eyes, deep, familiar, carried something softer. A woman followed, wearing a crimson coat that glowed against the snow. Her hair was golden brown, her smile trembling. James froze. Something in his chest fluttered, recognition, disbelief, memory. The pair walked toward the door. The bell jingled softly, just as it had all those years ago. The man looked around, taking in every inch of the place, the smell of soup, the creak of the counter, the same booth near the heater. Then his eyes landed on James. And he smiled. "You probably don't remember us," he said, voice shaking. "But you saved our lives." James blinked. The world seemed to tilt. The woman stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "I was the girl in the purple hoodie. You gave us soup that night. You told us we were safe. We never forgot." James's throat tightened. He couldn't speak. The young man continued, "My name's Elijah. This is my sister, Anna. After that night, we were taken into the foster system. It was hard, really hard. But that one act of kindness, it stayed with us. It became our compass." Elijah smiled through tears. "I built a company, a tech startup that helps rebuild communities. Anna's a pediatric surgeon now. She runs programs for homeless kids." Anna stepped closer, holding his hand. "We searched for you for years, Mr. Whitaker. We just wanted to say thank you." Outside, a small crowd had gathered, sensing something sacred. Elijah reached into his coat and pulled out a small velvet box, a set of keys. "The car outside, it's yours. But that's not all." He handed James an envelope, official, heavy paper. "We've paid off your debts. And we're donating $2 million to expand Whitaker's Haven. You helped us survive. Now let us help others do the same." James's eyes filled. His hands trembled as he clutched the letter. He whispered, "You don't owe me anything." Elijah smiled. "Maybe not. But we owe the world the same kindness you showed us." The three of them embraced, the man who gave, and the children who returned to give back. Outside, snow began to fall again, not as a storm this time, but as a quiet blessing. The townspeople applauded, tears streaming down their faces, and as James looked around, at the warmth, the love, the faces lit by hope, he realized something: kindness never dies. It only waits for the right moment to come home. That night, Whitaker's Haven was filled with laughter. James sat by the window, watching snowflakes dance under the streetlight. On the table beside him lay a small note from Anna. "Thank you for saving us, and for teaching us that love, once given, never leaves." James smiled, whispering to the storm outside, "Gracie, I finally kept the promise." And somewhere beyond the snowfall, an echo of warmth answered back, soft, eternal, and full of grace. Glowing star echo tales. Moral: one meal fed 2 children. One act healed generations, because when kindness begins, it never ends, it echoes.